Hello, ladies. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, racers. Hello, race fans all around the globe. Thank you very much for joining us here at World of Racing, where we are going to have an epic battle for endurance at none other than the most iconic racetrack in history. This is going to be Spa-Francorchamps. Track length of 4.3 miles or 7.0 kilometers, founded in 1921. Current layout from 2020, located in Francorchamps, Belgium. 19 corners, 9 to the right, 10 to the left, with 337 feet of elevation change and a 0.65 mile or 1.05 kilometer long straightaway. Notable drivers include Michael Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen, Daniel Ricciardo. Unfortunately, we don't have any of those names here tonight, but we do have some listed at the top of my list, and they are going to be none other than Alejandro, Troy Adams, Troy Ferguson, Andrew Janis. These are karting champions, world champions of karting, and Prodigy Pass winner, respectively, in that order. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you very much for staying tuned. This is World of Racing Live. And let's go ahead and get down to the qualifying session because the drivers have already put in some stonking lap times. Let's go down to the main feed in just one moment's time. Stand by. Thank you very much, Christina, for being here. Thank you very much for all the love and support that you give the World of Racing channel. Appreciate you being here. I am also very much looking forward to this epic race. We have a couple of drivers topping the charts in 1 second, separating P1 through P5 right now. Andrew, AMR, Chris, Troy, and then Reese in 5th place. We're going to see Ali, Andreas. The OGs are back in action. Jacob, Dustin, rocking the Samantha Tan number 28 livery. And Chan Young, Julie, Lee, Julian, Tifosi, Mike, FEC, Freddie, Dewey, and David, or David. A little bit of a slip, trip, and fall there. Coming through Stavlot and into Blanchimont for Truly. That is a beautiful livery. The number 38, of course, the Samantha Tan livery. WOR proud to be aligned with Samantha Tan at this point in time. So thank you very much, Samantha Tan. I got to meet Samantha Tan with my service dog once at Sonoma Raceway. I wonder if she remembers that. Shout out to Samantha Tan and meeting my service dog, Lexus. No offense. But we are driving the Bayro V2 edition. These are definitely not, and I will say that very explicitly, these are definitely not BMW M4 GT3s with 590 horsepower, with 516 foot of torque, with 6-speed X-Track transmissions. These are definitely not carbon fiber bodywork, adjustable rear wing, adjustable front splitters. These are definitely not BMW M-Track cockpits. These are definitely not Fanatec sponsored and partnered with steering wheels. These are definitely not FIA compliant welded safety roll cages factored by BMW M Motorsports. There's definitely not a fire extinguisher on board either, because the drivers are driving in our lovely simulators right now, where they're nice and cozy in a climate-controlled room, I would hope to see. Having themselves nice and cozy at a cool medium temperature, maybe around 72 degrees there. I wish Mike Knoss was here. He would tell us how warm and balmy it actually is in those cockpits. Tully coming around about a second and a half faster than their previous best. So let's follow them around. Actually, let's go on board with them and see how they're faring as we come up to the final chicane. See if they can get it stuck in here, barely make the second corner, and then flip it around. Pound it in first gear, and the anti-stall does not kick in, and that'll be a warp to pit lane for Thule. Unfortunate commentator's curse on that one. Jacob coming around Corbett Paul Ferrer right now. Doing a good job keeping it between the red and yellow stripes. Of course, the track limits here at Spa-Francorchamps are a little bit right there. Right there. As Jacob abandons that lap and does the gentlemanly thing and lets the other drivers right on through in his all blacked out Bayro. Definitely not an M4 GT3. Looks like Jacob's coming down pit lane. Let's see if we can find another driver. Here's Freddie coming through Blanchimont now. And pounding it as fast as he can go. Let's see if he's got the speed and momentum to improve on this lap of his. He's 6.2 off the pace. It'll be hard to do any worse than that right now. Obviously just getting a couple siding laps in for now. And then sets his 2:22.2. Not too shabby at all, says the man behind the microphone. Mr. AMR gets to the line with a 2:16.7. That will be provisional pole for them. Besting Andrew with his 0.158 behind. Then Chris is going to be trailing by around half a second as we come through campus and Corporate Paul Ferrer now. Falcon M4 GT3 livery. Exciting to see how this race goes. Julian improving by some bit of time there in the right-hand side of your screen. Where does Julian find themselves when they get to the line? No improvements to be found. Still 4 seconds off of the good right now. Dewey, Huey, and Louie sitting in 19th place right now. 7.4 off the good. Ali, one of the big heavyweight contenders here at World of Racing. Coming through pound for pound, blow for blow into the final chicane. Finds themselves trapped by the number 38. Out in front of them, that must be Thule. Side by side we go during the qualifying session. That only shows you how spicy things are going to be for the race heat as well. 1 second separates the top 5 drivers right now. 2/10 separating the first 2 drivers. And here comes through Andrew on another contender during this qualifying heat. Purple sector 2 there, finding the time and improvement that he desperately needs to bring it home, but gets bested, I think, by another contender. No, I don't think he does. He's able to keep it clean as that other car pulls off to the side. Andrew abandons that lap, it looks like, as it wasn't enough steam in the tank to bring it home for gold. Chris resting his head in 3rd place right now, drifting it through Lacombe. A little abrasive there on the tires. Now through Pouan we go. Chris finding a little bit of time, just about a 10th through Sector 1. Personal improvement there. Losing that time through Sector 2 now. Go on board and see what the Delta bar shows on his screen. Hooking it just a little bit too hard going into that final chicane. And that will be a net loss of around 0.3 of a second through Sector 3. No personal gains to be found on this lap. Take a ride on board for an entire lap as we come through the first corner now. La Source. Plummeting down the hill we go. And then the big rise up through Rouge and Radiant. Keeping it between the red and yellow stripes here, going curb to curb, up the hill through Radion, down the Kemmel straight now. This is the 0.65 mile long straightaway, or 1.05 kilometers. And then we come through Lacombe, a tricky right-left hander, back into the right-hand corner through the exit of Lacombes, mounting the curbs, and avoiding the gravel trap. Now down the hill we go into Bruxelles. And the tricky part about Bruxelles is it's a little off camber, so you can really brake late into that corner and lose a ton of time, but you really want to V that corner as much as possible. Now through No Name into the big fat Huon. Double left-hander again, going from inside to outside, curving back to the inside, back to the outside, double apex that as much as possible into the phalanges. Another tricky complex of corners here. Back to the right, left, going coast to coast as much as possible. Now you're headed down into Campus. Campus, pretty straight up and down here, just one corner. Now into Corporate Paul Ferrer. You really want to get on the gas early and stay on the gas as much as possible, because this is going to lead you down into Blanchimont in the final corner. You're going to hug the left side here, drift out to the right-hand side, dive into the right-hand corner. Get on the gas, stay on the gas, hard on the brakes once you see that dirty spot on the track. Really get it on the brakes as much as possible, and then pound your way out of the final chicane. And then you're going to bring it to the line. 0.3 improvement isn't enough. A 2:16.948 leaves himself just a little bit shy of Andrew's time. Just a bit of frustration there on the accelerator to boot. Dooley now driving that 38 Samantha Tan livery finds themselves in 9th place with a 2:18.961 finally. 12.5 minutes left to go on the clock. Plenty of time for these drivers to get a couple more laps in. We're seeing around that 2:16 to 2:20 being set, so expect the drivers to get around 5 more tries at it, if my math is mathing properly. Andrew tops the charts with a 2:16.448 over AMR. 0.2 back right now. Half second back is Chris, then Troy F, Reese, Ali, Andreas, Dustin. Truly, excuse me. Chan Young, Tifosi, Jacob, the OGs, Lee, Julian, Mike, Freddie, FEC, Dewey, David. That'll round out the 20 drivers participating here tonight. Dustin gets to the line, 2:17.883. That's good enough for 6th place right now. And you see a bunch of packs forming. Tifosi with the 2:18.737. Good enough for 9th place. Like I said, you can see a bunch of packs forming. The front running pack, the trio up there, or the quadruple, the 4 of them up at the front, separated by around 1 second. Then Reese, the bare 1 second back right now, and back to 2 seconds down to Andreas, then 2 seconds plus. We're seeing that gap from Tifosi to the OGs, then OGs 3 seconds plus back, and then Mike, Freddie, FEC, Dewey, and David. Beautiful track, more beautiful cars that are definitely not the M4 GT3s. Brought to you by URD. Lee finds some improvement with a 2:19, finds himself in 12th place now. Track has officially gone optimum. The ambient temperature being 25 degrees Celsius, the track temperature being 35 degrees Celsius, with 11 kilometers per hour crosswind coming across the drivers down into Blanchimont. We will have not mandatory pits, but pit stops will be required for the drivers to make it to the end of the race. Reese finds a purple sector 1, green through sector 2 and sector 3, 2:17.094. Gets bested by Troy with a 2:17.069. Nice. 69 hundredths away from the pole position. This is a look at Andreas right now, and he is blazing. So is Chris right now. Purple sector 3 finds himself in 3rd place, still holds on for one more day. The fastest man through that sector 3 timing line. Like I was saying just a moment ago, we will have to see some of these drivers take to pit lane to get themselves acquainted with their fuel providers. Of course, we're using VP Racing fuel here. Jacob with a 2:18.261, good enough for 9th place. Bumps Tifosi and Thule back right into the 10th and 11th position. Julian gets to the line with a 2:19.5. Good enough for 14th place for now. 6 minutes and 50 seconds remaining on the clock. Andreas sputtering around. A lot of green sector time there. Seeing about a 7/10 improvement overall. Couldn't find themselves resting into the top 6. 6 minutes left to go on the clock. Can Andreas pull this one off? He's looking pretty good right now. Getting to the line, this might be a 2:17.705. 6th place it is for Andreas. And he is the best of the rest right now, just outside that 1 second back gap window. And Jacob not having a good time as he wrestles the car there. David finding major improvements for their lap time. Around 6 seconds up already. Gets to the line. That'll be a whole heap more gained as he gets to the line. And 2:25 for David. It won't be good enough to improve more than 20th position, but I think I saw Dewey in the corner of my eye do good enough for 17th position. Reese with a 2:16.978 and a good 4th place finish for them for now. Starting their penultimate lap. All drivers using the soft compound rubber. Couple of drivers sitting in pit lane right now should not be able to get another crack at it. That'll be Andreas, Mike, Freddie, and the commentator Reese, purple sector 1. Ali finds 7th place with a 2:17.691. And best Andreas's best of the rest time by just 0.02 of a second. A little more than that, but exaggeration is key to the game here. Reese going yellow through sector 2 obviously lost a significant amount of time that we may have missed. Let's see if Reese can make up the time coming into the bus stop chicane. $2:16.922 that previous lap. Improvements through sector 2 and sector 3. Reese warps back to pit lane, so only a handful of drivers will get this lap plus one more. FEC up 1.3 through sector 1, having a bit of a tank slapper there. looks like there was a safety car that has just joined the grid. It'll be exciting to see how the safety car plays out in this event. Andrew finding more and more time. He is a karting champion. Finds a significant amount of time as he gets to the line at 2:15.755. Almost puts a second between himself and AMR. FEC has no chance, no offense to FEC, but if a guy like AMR and Chris are 1 second off the good, and FEC definitely does not have a fighting chance at beating Andrew's time there. Couple drivers just toting around, having some fun, getting some extra lap time in while they can. But these 4 or 5 drivers are still on valid laps right now. FEC gets the line with a 2:22. This will be Chris now, pumping it hard, getting it to the line. Now Chan Young's rear wing. Chan Young will be the final driver to cross the line while qualifying is still going on. But no improvement to be found for Chan Young. Check out this safety car, shall we? The all-carbon safety car. Looking at our grid of drivers, we have Andrew in P1 right now. AMR in P2. Chris in P3. Reese in P4. Troy F in P5. Tifosi in P6. Ali in P7, Andreas in P8, Dustin in P9, Jacob or Jakob in P10, Thule in P11, Chan Young in P12, Lee in P13, Julian in P14, the OGs in P15, Mike in P16, Dewey in 17th, Freddie in 18th, FEC in 19th, David in P20, and we have our safety car driving in the back of the field, P22. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll be right back when the racing action is underway. Stand by, everybody. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for the love. See you in a few moments. Welcome back, racers. And there will be a safety car start here. Now the safety car has passed all of the leaders. And the cars will form up behind that car. You see the drivers swerving, trying to generate as much heat as possible into those tires. This is a first for me here at World of Racing headquarters, but this is a first for global sim racing as well. This is the largest live grade of full motion simulators ever held. Having these 20 drivers take to this race is absolutely historic for sim racing. Thank you very much to all the drivers who are participating and their family members and friends that may or may not be watching this live or in the future. Ooh, is that Chan Young? That is Chan Young, falling worse for wear, coming through Puan. Time to kick back, relax, grab your popcorn and a cold beverage of choice, because the race is about to be on. Wowza, are these drivers getting a little close to each other here on the formation lap. No quarters given and none found for some of these drivers here tonight. Safety car has pulled into pit lane. It'll be up to Andrew to control the field now. Coming through the final corner, I believe he hits the pedal to the metal and leads the grid of cars. Down the front straightaway we go. And they're going to go 3 wide, headed down in towards T1. A little further back we go. And they're going to fall in single file before we get to Rouge. They better fall in single file before we get to Rouge and Radion, otherwise it'll be Tears for Fears. Oh, side by side coming up the hill through Radion for a lot of the drivers. The Samantha Tan cars all bunched up together and going a little door banging for good. Now we come down the street, down the Kemmel Straight and into Lacombs. Side by side action continues for the drivers as it looks like Troy and AMR are duking it out side by side, blow for blow, elbow for elbow. What about Jacob over Thule? 1/10 separating them on the field right now. Thule's trying to go the long way around at Brussels. And now it'll look like Jacob is going argy-bargy with Dustin. Dustin still has a wheel well along the inside. Truly goes up along the inside of No Name, bumps out Jacob at No Name's exit, and that'll be 2 positions lost for Jacob that he thought he had here on lap 1. It is a very long race. This will be a 2 hours and 22-minute endurance event. No race is ever won on lap 1, but it sure can be lost. And the number 28 of Dustin spins out in the Samantha Tan car, coming down into the Fagness. Andrew pulls out a whopping 1.9 second gap over Chris already. Then Troy, AMR, Reese, Tifosi, Ali, Truly, Jacob, Andreas, Lee, Julian, Mike, the OGs, Freddie, Dewey, FEC, David, and Dustin and Chan Young. No, and Andrew pulls out the fastest lap of the race, but that'll be Mike and the OGs clattering with each other coming down into the bus stop chicane. The OGs feeling a little remorseful there, allow Mike to pull back right on through. What about Ali chasing down Tifosi? Coming up the hill, love the sound of these Bayro cars. Through the combs, all nose to tail for these drivers. That for Andrew leading the charge, 2.2 second gap over 1 lap. Absolutely phenomenal pace out of Andrew. Big look at the inside of Pouon from Thule, who's trying to make shake and bake happen. Curb, loses a little bit of traction. There is Thule chasing down Ali. All this battling has allowed Jacob to catch back up to this pack, and a wheel stuck off into the gravel for Tifosi allows Ali to snake right on through, and this is going to allow Thule to trickle in as well, but potentially not. That'll be Jacob, then Thule, Andreas, Lee, Julian, Tifosi. Close pack racing going on right now. Down into first gear for the bus stop chicane. And there it is, a lunge from Jacob. He's going to try to go the long way around the outside at La Source. Will it be enough speed? Will it be enough momentum? Will he have enough punch to be able to get it done? Only time will tell if he's late on the brakes. And there is a flying number 38 up the inside, closing off the apex from Jacob's attack. Almost giving a little bit of a defensive maneuver there to Ali. And now single file. Holy Toledos are out, barely sneaking in single file line. A lot of the drivers using track limits there coming up the hill through Radion. But it's what they needed to do to survive this epic scrap that they're in right now. Jacob around the outside, Thule around the outside. Will it be an inverse of the positions? It is Thule, Ali, then Jacob. Jacob thought he was going to make a move as well, but it was Thule who made the move there coming into Lacombe. Lee getting very familiar with Julian's Falcon livery. At least the rear quarter panel of it. Checking back in with Ali, who's closing the gap on Thule out in front. Back down to just under a 1/10 of a second. Thule's got to cover this attack off by the number 34. Does so successfully for just a moment. Interested to find out what the stints are like for these drivers with this 2.5-hour race coming to them. Will the drivers be able to pull off 55-minute stints, or will it be cut a little bit shorter than that? Forcing at least a 2 or 3 stop race. Switching over to AMR and Troy coming down through Puan. AMR gets the move done on Troy, but it's not over just yet. Troy is bobbing, weaving, diving, ducking, dipping, and diving and dodging his way, trying to avoid the car in front, but still keep in a straight line. Not that this has anything to do with the racing involved right now, but what about the Lego set? The M4 GT3s. I don't know why that would come to mind. These are obviously the Bayro cars, definitely not M4 GT3s. But yeah, the Lego set does a great job of nip and tuck side by side, archy-barchy. Going into the bus stop chicane, AMR goes huge, deep, and wide. This is going to allow Troy to snap right back, but this is all inviting Reese into this front battling armada. Both of them cooking it going into the bus stop chicane. Both of them going a little too far and wide. Now Reese getting a little bit of the elbows out racing that he was trying to avoid by just finding his way right past these drivers. Slips right in between the two of them. Now will Reese be able to pull out a move on AMR? He dips out of the slipstream a little early for my taste, but it looks like he has the move done and dusted already. I thought he had tucked out of the slipstream a little too early for my taste, but obviously the drivers know better than I do. They are pulling out stonking laps right now, and I can't argue with the method to the madness. If it's working, hey, it's working for you. What about Jacob? Jacob getting a little bit racy with Ali right now, the heavy hitter. Headlights on for safety, of course, here at Spa-Francorchamps. Andrew leads by 4 seconds already on lap 5. Troy and AMR, what happens here? AMR a long way back from Troy now, so something terrible must have happened here. Maybe dipping a wheel off into the gravel coming through Corporate Paul Ferrer. 216.6, 216.9, 217.5, 218.6, 221 times respective as they come in. 218.6. AMR's got to pick up the pace if he wants to keep up with Troy and Reese. And someone's coming down pit road, it looks like. Who was that? Maybe that was just Chan Young getting out of the way of the lead cars. Now, the one thing I will say, it was such a good race start, we didn't even need to use the big red button, the big old restart here that we normally see with World of Racing sometimes. With these standing starts, things tend to get a little bit messy, a little bit dicey on lap 1, but we haven't seen any of that madness on this start. The safety car really doing a great job of bunching up the field, getting the drivers ready to go. And when they went green, it's been green ever since. I gotta say, whatever they've been doing is absolutely working. The extra effort to get the safety car in has been phenomenal. And of course, the drivers having to know how the safety car is going to work and then abide by that safety car has got to be very important as well. The OGs chasing down Mike. It looks like the sun is setting on Spa-Francorchamps and we are heading towards darkness now. Track is optimum. Track temperature is 36 degrees Celsius. Ambient temperature 26 degrees Celsius. Coming down into Blanchimont, the big plunge. Pits for Andreas, Julian, and Freddie. Still going to go side by side, coming down the hill, up into Le Combes. That'll be Tifosi getting by the OGs. Trying to do commentator math on one napkin and keep an eye on the battling as well. It's on track. Sure is challenging. Dustin and FEC. Oh, this is a dangerous place to go up the inside at Fuon. Someone's got to secede the position here. It'll be Dustin getting one over on FEC. Andrew, Chris, Reese, Troy, AMR. Everybody's coming into the pits now. Andrew, Chris, Troy, Ali, AMR, Reese, Truly, Jacob, anybody else I'm missing? Mike, Dustin, Lee. My goodness, what a round of pit stops for these drivers. Seemingly everybody coming to pits right at the same time. Very short stint for the drivers, 22 minutes. Will be a lot more pit stops left to go in this race if that's as long as they can go with a full fuel load. Ali, getting past Jacob there. Jacob had a little excursion. Thule into pits at 2:05. OG is coming to pits at 2:05 as well. Cheers from the crowds as the drivers come up a Rouge and Radiant. Reese promotes himself up into third place over to Fosse. Fosse's car seems a little worse for wear right now. You can see by all the scratch marks up and down the side paneling of that vehicle. Love watching the brakes glow on these cars. You get a beautiful shot of the brakes glowing as they approach the bus stop chicane. from the brakes. I want to point out again, this is the largest live grid of full motion simulators ever. So thank you very much to all the drivers to their participation and their love of sim sports. Thank you very much to World of Racing for putting on a wonderful event like this. Now this looks like Troy might want to make a move onto Fosse. Coming up the hill, touches the curb on the inside line of Rouge. That might hurt his chances just a little bit there. Battle between the two of these drivers, keeping it clean, calm, cool, and collected for now. Keeping an eye on Andreas's battle with Freddie as well. Couple notable drivers here tonight. Alejandro is a Prodigy Pass winner. Troy Adams, the world karting champion. Troy Ferguson, an 11-year-old karting champion. Andrew Janis, the 12-year-old karting champion from SK USA and Challenge of the Americas winner, is leading this race in first place overall by 8.5 seconds right now. Taking a look back at AMR's battle with Tifosi. It has gotten real dark real quick here at Spa. There's AMR getting past Tifosi, headed down into the Combs. And there are very, very few lights here at Spa-Francorchamps to illuminate the tracks. So the drivers are really just relying on their headlights and knowing what's in front of them based on what the car in front of them is doing. Very, very tricky conditions for most people. Not for these expert drivers though. They've transitioned from day to night very easily. More illuminated brake rotors, appeasing to my taste. Checking back in with Andreas and Freddie's little squabble. Coming down the hill into Puan for these two. Andreas just within 2/10 of the car in front as we come through Blanchimont. This might be a time to make a late break lunge going into the bus stop chicane, but Andreas thinks better of it. Lets Freddie drive on with his day. Dustin lapping around a second a lap faster than me at this point. And we are lap 12 of what I presume is going to be a long race. 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 20 seconds remaining left on the clock, folks. Oh no! And who was that? That'll be Julian. Slip, trip, and fall coming through La Source. Gets the car pointed in the right direction, just seems to get on the accelerator a little too eagerly there. And ran straight into the wall. Not too much damage there for Julian as the crowd cheers him on to get back into the race. Now on board with a Samantha Tan racing car of Andreas as we chase down Freddie out in front. Like he wants to make room at the Vanges. Out of it is Andreas. Closer than he has been in a long time. Whoa! And there is a car out of no man's land forcing their way through. Not sure whom that is. That was a Samantha Tan livery car. Was that Truly? That was Truly. Making his way downtown, walking fast, faces past. He is homebound, and no one's going to stop them from getting another lap in. What is Tooley doing down in 19th? I presume they pit twice now. Take a look at the pit stops. 2 pit stops for Tooley, 3 for Chan Young, 2 for Dewey as well. So a bit of a mistake out of Tooley is what caused them to tumble down into 19th place. The Fosse with 0 stops to their name. That is quite interesting. I saw Tifosi come into the pits. No, I did not see Tifosi come into the pits. So presumably taking a full fuel load and trying to gain as many positions as possible during the pit stop cycle. I believe a lot of the other drivers had quali fuel on board and therefore could only run that 20 minutes or so. There's Tifosi's pit stop now at 1:53. as the OGs pull right on through. Mike at 152. It should be Mike's second pit stop, actually. That is his second pit stop. Looking for the next closest battle on track. Things have started to become kind of quiet here. Quiet at the front of the grid. Looks like Andrew has to contend with, I believe, Chan Young. Chan Young dips, dives, and dodges out of the way. Allows Andrew to snake right on through. Andrew leading the race by 9.7 seconds now. And then Reese in third place. Chris in second. Troy F in fourth place. AMR in fifth. Jacob in sixth. Ali, Dustin, Lee, and Tifosi are your top 10. Andreas, Freddie, Julian, the OGs, FEC, Mike, David, Thule, Dewey, and then Chan Young are your 20 drivers still racing tonight. MR running in fifth place, 1.6 seconds away from Troy F in fourth place right now. The OGs were battling with Mike, but Mike had to take a second pit stop already, so the OGs have been unleashed to chase down Julian, 5.1 seconds away. Andreas just walking by Tifosi. Was at the entrance to Huon that move was made. Tifosi trying to snap right back at Banjis. MR 3/10 away from Troy. Coming down the Kimmel Straight into the combs. They're going to continue to stay side by side, almost touching but not quite there. Troy defends from AMR. Again, this is the largest grid of drivers who are all in full motion simulators ever to be hosted. This is quite the feat. All driving on identical equipment as well. With their Uskenveld setups, as well as the motion rigs that are Sigma Interglade. To 18.7 to 2.6 AMR, just a hair faster on that previous lap than Troy F in front. Both drivers using a little bit of, let's say, translation not found for the track limits there at Radion. Room for interpretation. That's the phrase I was looking for. They left room for interpretation with track limits at Radion. Oh, and a big off there from AMR at Puon. That'll cost him significant time. He tries to chase down and tangle with Troy F in front. Side by side, going into the bus stop chicane. Not quite this time. AMR trying to go for a crisscross applesauce move on Troy F. Gets it done. Now he's on the inside line, leading down into the source, but gets the big old squeeze applied to him. Coming down in towards one. Troy F gets a good run. Almost has a wheel well along the inside. Did have a bumper alongside of AMR and nearly spun him around there. Hugging that inside line is going to be AMR. Troy on the outside exterior line coming down the Kimmel Straight into the Combs. And it'll be Troy getting a position back on AMR. And an off there from Troy at the exit of No Name allows AMR back right on through. Epic little tango that we're watching right now between these two gentlemen. And there's another off from AMR now, gives the position right back over to Troy. decided better of it. Andrew leads by 12.3 seconds right now on lap 19 of this 2-hour and 30-minute endurance race here, brought to you by World of Racing, partnered with Samantha Tan Racing. Of course, hence all of the Samantha Tan Racing liveries, of course. Jacob coming down pit road at 1:39 now. Justin trying to get the undercut done on his opponents by pitting a little bit sooner than later. Battle here between Julian and Dustin. Come down to plummet and into Rouge and Radion. The OGs get by Dustin the long way around the outside. Back through is Dustin. No, the OGs clatter into the walls coming through Puan. And that will be a worse for wear ride for them. Is that Julian also? No, that's just the OGs. Mike and David getting a little scrappy right now. Battle for 16th and 17th position is not yet over. Mike besting David here. Blanchimont. Just a nose cuts him off at Blanchimont coming down into the bus stop chicane. This is not where buses are stopped or to be found here at Spa. Dustin with a late move coming into the chicane. Tifosi trying to defend as much as possible. Does so successfully. Dustin has to back out of it as he tried to go in the long way around and get some sort of switch up engaged for that overtaking move to become successful. Now it's single file line between the two of them. Tifosi leads over Dustin into the top 10. Side by side. Nope. I saw two pairs of headlights there. There's just the BMW M4 logo. Mike battling it out with FEC. FEC leads over Mike. At this point in the race, lap 23. Mike comes down pit road, so does David at 132. Love the sound of these cars. These are the sights and sounds that I could fall asleep to on any given day. Take a look at the pit stops for everybody. about that time for the 2-stop. But the second stop of the race to be coming in for the rest of the drivers that have taken a full fuel load, should be coming in around 119, 120-ish. So expect to see another 2 or 3 more laps for most of the drivers. Progress so far, AMR down 3 from where they started. Chris, Reese, and Troy all up 1. Andrew Janis is right where he started on pole position. Ali's up 1. Jacob has gained 3. Lee has gained 5. Dustin's gained 0. Right where he started. Tifosi's lost 4. Andreas down 4. Well. Dustin trying to get past B here. No name. Side by side through Blanchimont. That is a scary place to be. Oh, that wasn't Blanchimont, excuse me, that was Campus. Now through Puan. Dustin and Lee invert for their positions at 8th and 9th position. There trying to hunt down Dustin. Julian with another big fatal spin coming out of the bus stop chicane. Goes down pit road immediately. Andreas is being extremely protective of Tifosi, the car in front right now. But able to get the move completed before we head down into Puan. 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 30 seconds remaining by the end of my spiel, folks. Been a great time of racing action to follow. If you're interested in getting to the nearest World of Racing headquarters, check out worldofracing.com, as well as their Discord. You can find yourself on the stream live, either the Tustin or the Pasadena location. One of these amazing endurance events. Comes down pit lane at the 124. Rest of the pit stop callers are in. Beautiful shot of the night sky from Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. All's quiet on the Western Front right now. The driver is just settling in to do their qualifying runs that are first driver out of the way. Comes down pit lane at the 121 mark. Traffic, give it lap traffic, take it away. Will it be on this occasion? Fosi, Freddie, both pit stop callers now. Looking at the timing tower, Andrew Janis leads 17.4 seconds on lap 29 of this 2.5-hour race over Chris. Then Reese in third place, Troy F in fourth place, AMR, Jacob, Ali, Dustin, Andreas Lee in your top 10. Freddie comes down pit lane now. Defosi, the OGs, Julian, FEC, Truly, David, Mike, Dewey, and Chan Young. Out of pit lane is Big Bad Freddy, driving the number 20 GT3 Bayro. Getting ready to attack the scene one more time. Andrew commanding this race with 2 feet on the pedals. .221.135 will be out of, I believe, Tifosi. 12 and a bit seconds later, we see the OGs cross the line and follow. Things look like they might be spicing up in the midfield. Already closing down on Julian after that pit stop that he just served. Hello? Hopefully the commentary audio hasn't been gone for too long, JSM Media. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you very much for sticking around. Really appreciate all the love and support you guys have been giving to the World of Racing, or to World of Racing and partnership with Samantha Tan Racing. Thank you so much everybody. Have a wonderful night, and as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Bye-bye.